Oh, well, good evening out there. Well, the sun has slowly made its way down once again, and we can finally get comfortable and have a chat. My name is Eddie Booze, and this is Exit the Matrix. Well, throughout my life, I have traversed my share of rabbit holes, and like many of you out there, I have experienced things that I simply cannot explain. I invite you all to consider that this world may not be exactly what we've been told it is, and that maybe, just maybe, we haven't even scratched the surface of the absolute truths that lie before us. That being said, let's get into today's episode. My guest today is no stranger to the odd, mysterious conspiracy theories and all of the above. Mr. Jarid Yaw from the Shane Dawson Podcast and of Let's Mind Travel channel on YouTube. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
Yeah, congrats. This is rad. It's always dope to see somebody create something and, fucking have something going. So this is cool. I'm stoked to be on the podcast. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah. It's really cool it's always cool to work with you in like every capacity. Like we've done Animal Planet, which will show you guys some of that music as well. And if you guys feel like it, go on Spotify, YouTube. You guys can check out a couple of our songs that have already been released. That we did. We won Elephants. Yeah, we just won Elephants was the first one.
Monkey Business. No.
Monkey See.
It's kind of bad, dude. I'm not being a very good representative of
it's
the
all
art
good.
right now.
It's been
but it's been a minute, but that project is massive, dude. You know what I mean? So I'm very excited for the people who haven't seen any of it yet to check it out, and we got a lot more in the works. I think in 2025, dude. I think that we're going to release it all.
I agree, dude.
It'll all come out.
Yeah, we had the idea to release like one song every month or so, and then, life happens. We both kind of, got into some things, and we will be releasing it all very soon. We have about 10 more songs we got to release. I think next we're going to do Duck, Duck, Goose. Yeah. And check out this channel too. Like I've been using a lot of like our music on the intros for podcasts on this channel.
Dope, dude.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Recently I went to Colorado, and on the flight, unless you've downloaded some Netflix stuff, like there's really no kind of content. So on a 3-hour flight, I rely heavily on whatever is in my phone, the files, and one of the things I listened to the whole time was the Animal Planet project. So I'm very excited for it, dude. It's crazy because I listen to them and every single song is potent, and the whole concept is just so rad. So
yeah, every time I revisit it too, I get like this weird like it's almost like a separation from it because I actually like it. Like actually like want to listen to it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that's. I just feel like usually sometimes like the stuff we create isn't the stuff we necessarily like are gonna listen to. Like I have my favorite artists that I listen to, and I'm not sure that I listen to all of my music like I listen to like John Moreland or to John Fogerty or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So but like I catch myself enjoying it like as an actual listener. If that makes any sense.
It's kind of a cool project, too, I guess, for us personally to listen to after not hearing it for a while because it's so opposite of how the project was created, where I would just come over and we'd make a song in like a few hours, and then to be separate from it for like 6 months, however long. It's so much to appreciate within that music. So, but yeah, Animal Planet, man, you guys got to check it out for sure. And I'm stoked that you're using the music on the channel, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, man, it's been it's been really cool to be able to utilize that stuff for all of these podcasts and stuff, and everybody seems to like it too. Like every time, I use it for intro. We use it for the Amen podcast. We use it for Keeping It Real with Reggie.
Oh wow, dude, it's beyond what you're doing. You're using it for like all kinds of stuff.
Oh, dude, like multiple. This is okay. Like dude. Multiple of the podcasts that we use in the studio.
Okay,
like
I'm even more excited.
Dog, yeah,
to hear that.
Duck Duck Goose is for Irreplaceable Truths. They use that for like a veterinary podcast.
Wow.
And then Amen.
Veterinary. So they just talk animals and diagnoses.
They talk about like soft skills for like new and up and coming veterinarians. Like EQ versus IQ, like, you know what I'm saying? Like
that's niche. I like it.
Mentorship, like a lot. Yeah, it's very cool. Actually,
my sister-in-law it would be very interested in that. I'll have to tell her about it.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Well, let's get into today's episode. We do got a lot to talk about. We have a very interesting topic today. I have found this extremely interesting over the last few years, but I think today we should talk about real life vigilantes. What do you know about real life vigilantes, Jared?
I feel like it's just people who are taking matters into their own hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like on the smallest scale, I do enjoy every now and then watching a bully catch instant karma type situations.
Yeah.
You know, that's like the micro of it, but the macro is someone like a Batman, let's say, or like someone that's really out there trying to make. And I actually just watched the Christopher Nolan trilogy in this past like couple weeks. We had not a power outage, but an internet outage. And being kind of like a trained monkey that always needs content, you know, like with no internet, I had no YouTube, no Netflix. I ended up buying a DVD player, and The Dark Knight Rises was the DVD that like I decided to watch. But the movie is so much radder, like the later you watch it and how many times you watch it. But I feel like that to me is the pinnacle of a vigilante right there. You know, someone who takes justice into their own hands. That's well deserved.
You're absolutely right.
You know? Yeah. But like Batman is dope because he doesn't want it to be about him. He wants it to be about the action of actually helping each other and like wanting it to be a better place. So
right. Well, most superheroes and characters of that nature who are vigilantes, like they want their anonymity. The anonymity is always like part of it. That's why they wear the mask, you know, all this stuff.
Superman confuses me. Right? How did they not know, dude?
He's an alien, dog. He's not even from here, dude. He doesn't need his anonymity. Okay.
Next episode on that, dude.
But usually, I think when you think vigilantes, I think you get, you know, you kind of automatically get this idea of like some masked guy, you know, who Batman or otherwise, who goes out in the night and stops like crimes, you know, and so, you know, there is a stereotypical idea of what a vigilante is,
or like a Dexter.
Right. Okay. So
I feel like Dexter is also a really good example, and for me personally, I don't know if I could ever. There's law of the land. And there's more of a faith-based reality that we live in. I don't know if I could ever condone murder necessarily, but I condone justice. And I feel like if someone is a criminal, let's say, and ultimately where we live, they could get the death penalty for what they did if they were found guilty of it. I feel like that's a just killing to me. If that makes any sense, like I think if you murder somebody, the end goal is going to, or not end goal for them necessarily, but the end result is going to end up in like capital punishment, life in prison, whatever the case may be. I don't want to condone murder, but I feel like that is just as much as it can get. Do you know what I'm saying? Because the system is going to spend a bunch of money putting this person through a trial, and then how much does it cost a year to hold a prisoner? Then we're going to execute him. So it's like, why would you hold the person accountable? And now there's two people possibly going through the system. So I don't know. I feel like Dexter always struck me as, it's crazy that we're rooting for a guy murdering people, but at the end of the day, like, what is the end game here for these people if they were to get caught? I'm sure it'd be that, so.
Yeah,
that was kind of long, but
it's
a thought I've wrestled with quite a bit in my life, so it's kind of hard maybe to get out in the simple terms.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate your full thought and what you just said too. Like, it's funny that just kind of came to mind, and it just kind of gave me a thought. Like, okay, the only vigilante killers that we know about are the ones that have been caught. Think about this. Like, think about how many vigilante killers there are out there, or may have been, that never were caught. And you know what I'm saying? So, like, I mean, we don't really know the scale of that type of justice that's been served out in this world, but
the injustice is rampant.
It's crazy. Yeah, exactly. And I think what you just said is, like, I think that's one of the biggest, most important parts of this, is that people are taking matters into their own hands in these situations when they feel like, law and order breaks down, when they feel like the justice system doesn't do them justice. And in some of the cases we're going to look at today, that's the case. The case seems to be, to me, that the justice system did not do enough, or they didn't even get a chance to in some cases. But these people who were close to others or had their own specific reasons would definitely take matters into their own hands. Like, all right, let's talk about our first case today. So, our first case today is, alrighty, I don't know why that happened. There we go. Let's go back to the media page, and Marianne Bachmeyer.
What a picture, dude. Is that a real picture of this woman?
It is.
What
okay.
a great, but just appreciate the art. That's a great picture.
It is. And I'll tell you why I chose that.
It's like very emotional.
I'll tell you why I chose that picture, because all the other pictures I found online were of this woman being taken, like in the courtroom, like being taken pictures of after she had murdered this guy who killed her 11-year-old daughter, I believe.
Wow.
So her 11-year-old daughter went to school one day and skipped school and somehow found herself at her neighbor's house, Klaus. This guy was a butcher. This guy was a local butcher. And she went missing, and later on her body was found in a cardboard box down by a canal close to them. Well, this guy Klaus had some previous run-ins with the law, so they instantly kind of looked at this guy and realized that this was the guy. Well, the crazy part about it was that the guy's fiance raised some red flags with the cops and called the cops, and they went in and searched and found that this guy had murdered this little girl. And he claimed, and obviously the mother was obviously affected by this, but he claimed that the little girl, this 11-year-old girl, was trying to blackmail him and say that she wanted money, or she was going to tell people that he molested her. And that's why he killed her. And that obvious bullshit story enraged her so much that she went to his trial with a .22 and pulled it out in the middle of the trial and fired 8 rounds at this dude, hitting him 6 times, and he died right there on the courtroom floor.
Is there footage of it?
I don't, dude. I couldn't. I'm sure that if you looked hard enough, you could find some.
Is like very interesting on YouTube to watch.
Bro, that's crazy.
Was this a Courtroom Justice YouTube moment or no?
I don't know.
I will say, obviously, so, the guy. So they had proof and everything. He killed the daughter.
Yep. They no. He
because it's kind of all over the place.
He full on admitted to it.
In general, an 11-year-old skips. But
he full on admitted to the whole thing. Like,
he did.
He admitted to it. And like I told you, he said that I killed her because she tried to blackmail me and said that he somehow he coaxed her over to his place and spent the day there with him, and nobody knows really what happened. All we know is that she ended up murdered, and this guy admitted to the whole thing. But that story that he told, that's what really sent the mom into overdrive and made her want to go and end this dude. You know what I mean? It wasn't.
I would imagine it wouldn't have been the first time they ever spoke. He must have been a creep from the jump. You know what
something.
I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then what happened to her? So she shot him 6 times in the courtroom.
And then
he died. He died, hopefully, right?
Oh, yeah, he died. He bled out right there on the courtroom floor. Yeah. And I believe she stood trial for that murder, and I believe she got some time. I'm not exactly sure how much time she got. You know what? I had a lot of the info that I've been going over the last few days.
But she didn't get a life sentence or anything Well, that's what I'm saying. What was going to happen? A lot of these, that guy was going to get the life sentence, man. She gave it to him. And at the end of the day, I can't even imagine, dude. I don't have kids, but I would imagine if someone did that to my kid.
And that's what I'm saying.
How could you even sit behind a human or be within reach of a human that did that to your child?
Bingo.
And I'm surprised we don't hear about stuff like this every day, or not every day, but whenever a trial like that happens. So
right, exactly. So no, that's right. Anybody who loves like that of a parent, I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
I think it's hard for humans to watch another person suffer and not want to take action, but your own blood, man.
Right. It says.
I hope she didn't get
check
any
this
time.
out.
I hope she didn't get any time.
I forgot. No. Check this out. So
there's more.
Yeah, I totally forgot about this part, but she. She said afterwards that he killed my daughter. I wanted to shoot him in the face, but I shot him in the back. I hope he's dead. That's what she said. Those were her words. And
these were like her courtroom words, like when she was asked on trial.
I don't know if it was like while it was happening, but here's what happened. So she check this out. This is kind of cool. She sold the rights to her story to some publication for about $160,000 and used that to pay for her legal defense. But she only got like 6 years. I think she got 6 years for it. I think that's what the article said. But yeah, man,
that's quite a bit of time, man. I think like you want her to get no time, but does it set a precedence if she gets no time? To where is that why people get time? I'm not saying they should necessarily, but is it to keep people from doing that more often? Like it has to be, because who in their right mind would want to convict a mother who just went through all that?
Right, nobody. I mean,
that's how they keep us at bay, dude.
I feel like you're gonna run into lenient judges, when you come across things like that, and then that will bring me to like, a couple more questions like later on too, like as we move into a couple more of these cases, but. All right, so let's take a look at the second case. And I'm going to see if these hotkeys are working here now, because they were not a second ago. All right, it works.
This guy.
Jason Volkovich. You recognize him?
No.
Okay.
Should I?
Maybe, because he's been in the news a lot over the last few years. Okay, so they call this guy the Alaskan Avenger. Okay, so this guy, from what I read in my research, I found that this guy had kind of a rough history of SA from somebody in the family. Okay. And
so he had some trauma.
Some childhood trauma, and he spent some time in and out of jail, growing up. And recently, he decided he was just fed up with the trauma that he had endured, and he was going to take matters into his own hands. So he went online, went on the sex offender registry, found these child molesters, went to their house, broke in with a hammer and beat them with a hammer.
What a lead list. For a guy, for if that's what you're looking to get, like right now.
That's what I'm saying.
You want to really do some damage and you want to take some justice in your own hands. That's the ultimate lead list, I would say.
Dude, it's crazy.
But I think if you like pee on the side of the road, they could put you on that list.
They can.
So hopefully he looked at the severity of why they're on the list. I wouldn't want to be the guy that like just peed next to my car and then I got the Alaskan Avenger at my house looking to beat the shit out of me. You know what I mean? But but he's not killing him. He's just beating the shit out of him.
Apparently he didn't kill. He broke into 3 of their houses and he beat them with a hammer and then he robbed them. And from what I read, this is the weirdest part. From what I read, the people who were who were like the guys he actually beat up, apparently 2 of the 3 advocated for his release. They sentenced him to 23 years in prison for what he did, and they released him.
Wow.
And then he's out. He's just out. Like they're not. There's no. There's nothing further. I'm sure he's on parole. I mean, he beat these guys with a hammer, but you know what I mean. Like, but it's
That's
weird.
Pretty serious, dude.
Yeah, but it's weird because like people like you and I, we see that thing and we're like, release him. Why is he in jail? You know what I mean? Because we feel a certain way. Like that type of thing enrages the public. You know what I mean? So recently I found this thing on like Instagram and like social media where there's these things like all these pages like people catching like predators and like just beating the shit out of them.
That's a huge.
Have you seen this? Have you been seeing this?
To Catch a Predator, Homeboy started it back in the day. And then I want to say that show actually ended because they got a judge. It might have been in Long Beach, dude.
Oh, you're kidding.
Or maybe Texas. Either Texas or one of the last ones they did was in Long Beach.
So they got someone of some actual political importance and they ended that show. So Chris Hansen,
they found this guy, and he wouldn't come out of his house. He was like, fuck this. I know what you guys are up to right now. I think someone like alerted him that the crew was in town. So he barricaded himself, and they ended up killing himself. Dude.
No way.
So the family sued ABC, and they won this like massive lawsuit. Because
or whatever media company it was.
Whatever media company, was I guess producing the show got sued and they had to drop it. But now I've seen a lot of the people that it's almost that were doing pranks like a year ago on YouTube have transitioned and pivoted to this Catch a Predator stuff.
Into like beating the shit out of, into like baiting people and then beating the shit out of them.
I've only seen a couple people get like slapped up. I haven't seen any like hardcore brutal beatery.
Yeah, no. I haven't seen that. I've just seen a couple.
It's more or less public humiliation.
Right.
Yeah, which as they should be humiliated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is, like this guy, the Alaskan Avenger, he had trauma in his earlier life. And the way that humans, like we instinctually get past trauma is to pass it on. So that's why a lot of people that have been through what he's been through end up creating and recreating that trauma for other people in a very negative way. And what does that do? It just creates a cycle of individuals that have this weird emptiness or void that they're trying to fill constantly or understand why did it happen to me. And so he went in the opposite direction, you know what I'm saying? Which I'm sure, like, kudos to him, man. He lived a hard life, it sounds like. And I'm happy to hear that he didn't contribute to it being a more negative thing, and it's he got out. So
you know what's funny?
I don't condone just going around beating people up necessarily.
But you know what's funny that you see it that way.
You go through that trauma, and it's like, what is the adverse effect? What is the other end of the spectrum for a man who's trying to clear that trauma from his heart, dude? It's
exactly.
Like, you know,
and like I'm gonna put this into perspective for you for just a second. Okay,
hurt people. He did hurt people.
So we are
physically.
Right.
You know?
All right. So we're talking about a guy who. Okay, so if you were just if we were just in a conversation and we were just talking and I were to tell you, there's this guy who has been breaking into people's houses and beating them with a hammer, you'd be like, whoa, that's crazy, dude. Like, but then if I were to add to that, like, but he's only doing it to child molesters, you'd be like, word, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's all about the context.
It's the context. That's how much, you know what I mean? Like,
it's important to know.
Right. So these vigilante killers, they're feeling a certain way, you know what I mean? And they're responding a certain way.
I think one of the coolest movies to come out, it could be 20 years old by now, man. Time seems to be flying, but is Law Abiding Citizen. Have you seen it?
Yeah, of course. Good
movie.
An
amazing movie.
Yeah,
dude. But
Clive Owen, right?
I feel like that's another good example. It's pretty much exactly what we're talking about. That was his thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But great movie. Recommendation for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? To add to that, like, that's another thing is, like, revenge films have become my favorite genre of film. Like, one of my very favorite movies. In fact, my favorite movie of all time, all genres, everything, is called I Saw the Devil. It's a Korean film. It's fantastic.
Okay.
It's about a guy. It's about a Korean Secret Service agent and his pregnant wife is brutally murdered at the beginning. And by the way, spoiler, but at the very beginning, there's an extremely brutal scene of, like, a murder scene of this lady, and it's hard to watch. It's very hard to watch, but when you got to get through it. Once you get through that one part, the rest of the movie becomes phenomenal. This guy, it's a cat and mouse game, revenge movie, it's a psychological thriller, it's all of the above. It's fantastic. And if you liked Old Boy or the Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance movies, like, you'll really enjoy I Saw the Devil. But anyway, like, that's the kind of thing that's why Taken was so, it was so popular. It's like people want to see the bad guy get their comeuppance. In fact, in film, usually you'll see a scene with a bad guy at the very beginning of whatever movie it is, and you'll see that they establish this guy, that they make the bad guy do something bad enough for the audience to want to see him to die in whatever way they're going to make this dude die. So if, like, it's going to be some horrible death scene at the end of the movie, they want to make sure that you're on board with that. So at the beginning of the movie, they'll show you something terrible that this character does. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
you're okay with him getting his comeuppance at the end. You know what I mean? Whatever it is.
It'd be cool, though, if they didn't foreshadow that for you in a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Because the opposite way.
But then how would you know he's the bad guy?
But what if you started a movie with some guy breaking into houses and beating people with a hammer, but then somehow you transition to, like, the past, some kid getting like you never put
Right.
together it was that guy. Like there's other ways of doing it, I guess. But,
Absolutely.
But I do enjoy like a John Wick movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely. But you're right, and I like subversion. I like subverting the expectations of the audience and like flipping things on their head. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure a lot of you out there will disagree with me, but I was a big fan of M. Night Shyamalan's movies. I didn't like The Village so much, and there were a couple that
I don't
didn't
think I
like.
ever saw that one. I think it's one of them I haven't seen. Have
There-
you seen the recent one? The Trap or Trapped?
Yeah, I like that. It was okay.
I haven't seen it. I have to watch it.
I think it went on a little. I think it went on a little long. I think there were like 2 or 3 different endings
a
to
little
that.
long.
Yeah. Right. But
Dude,
nah.
he's a genius, bro. Like
Nah,
the
it's-
Sixth Sense. Like it's crazy to think that movie came out in what, like the late '90s.
Yeah.
So that movie to right
Like 2000,
now,
2001,
So
something
like
like that.
that movie to right now is like when we were younger, like a super classic movie from the '70s. Or I even think about like music, like a song I was listening to on the way over here from '97. In '97, like the same time back from us now is like the Beatles. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like the
Yes.
classicality of things.
Exactly.
But his movies are like classics, dude. And when you rewatch him, understanding even like the more life you experience, the more you can put into context things as you watch them, and you can like feel them on an emotional level. But I just recently saw a couple clips from The Sixth Sense, and it's like the movie's so genius. Dude.
Stands up for sure.
It's like amazing, dude.
Yeah, it's definitely an all-time hit.
Yeah, shout out to M. Night Shyamalan, dude.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into the next. Let's get into our next story. So, our next story is. Let's see if the hotkey works. It worked. All right. So, I hope I'm getting the name right. It's Tatiana Coppage or Copage, and this woman's brother was murdered, and. There's an interesting aspect to this story. So she found out who her brother's murderers were, and while the police were still investigating the murder, she found this dude and killed him. So before the cops could even figure out who did it, she figured out who did it and killed the dude.
Wow.
And and then afterwards, like the cops, from what I understand and from what I researched, the cops did confirm that the guy that she killed was the person who killed her brother.
That's a crazy story right there, dude.
I mean,
as I'm watching this, a thought came to mind that I think is possibly a good conversation piece for the story, for the topic. At what point do we not accept a revenge kill? For instance, I'm not saying that this lady killed.
That's a good question.
Like because what did the guy murder the other guy for? Like, because what if the guy? Not saying it happened. I don't know. I'm just speculating. And also, I think if we're going to talk about kind of glorifying people going out there,
You're just saying, what
and
if someone did something to somebody terrible and then they killed them back, and then we're just revenge killing everybody back left
and just
right.
to kind of weave back to the Alaskan Avenger, I think he'll be coming up like a lot through the episode. But the people that he went and beat up, like they're doing the exact opposite of what we said he could have done. Probably they were probably extremely traumatized when they were younger and took it out because they had no other outlet and they didn't know how to deal with it. So he's going up and beating up the other version of himself, possibly. Do you know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
So
Interesting
it's like,
take.
It's like, so I guess true justice, I think, comes from within and trying to actually help another individual. Sometimes they maybe need to get hit in the head. But like, when I look at that story, I think, I kind of want to know a little bit more before I like back up, the action. Like, what did that guy murder the other guy for? Is this like a terrible circle of violence that we're involved in? Because now, what if someone murders her? Because what if like the guy? What if the guy that she murdered, the brother murders her? Are we okay with that now? So I think there's also like a little couple layers to this.
Okay, all right. So you're saying like let's check out the layers and like feel around like what's going on before we say that like this is just or whatever.
I'm saying I always think an eye for an eye though. What does it do?
So the question you asked was what where's the line? Like what are we okay with? What type of revenge killing are we okay with?
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to establish the true law of the land here. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why vigilantism is illegal.
It is, but maybe we need to figure out what is the guidelines of maybe, you know,
What's
being
the guidelines
a permitted
of
vigilante,
yeah.
you know, like by the state, like or just by the people, because you're ultimately being judged by your peers.
Right.
Right. So if the 12 people that are judging you are in agreement on whatever their outlook is on the situation, that's what's going to happen to you.
Right.
So like we have to change people's perceptions if we want to change how people are actually sentenced, I would imagine. But I don't know.
Yeah,
But
no,
next story. These are great, dude.
Yeah, and
interesting.
You know, and it's we have to remember too that like people are on these juries. They are our peers, you know. So it's like when you read one of these stories about people taking matters into their own hands, I always feel like most of the people that are on these juries or that are involved in these cases, they have some sort of, there's an aspect of empathy. There's an aspect of, I'm putting myself, you know, if you get a mother who's on a jury of a woman who killed somebody, who raped and killed their son or daughter.
They should have a certain amount of those too. On the jury, you know,
I'm saying you're going to feel a certain way. You feel me?
Yeah.
You're going to feel a certain way. So people, and I have a feeling that most like people in general, most people with a conscience, most people who aren't criminals, who aren't killers, who aren't people who go out and do terrible things to other people, they have that moral compass are going to naturally hear the details of any of these cases and go, yeah, I side with that guy. That's why the internet and the public largely called out for the release of the Alaskan Avenger, Jason Vukovich, because they agreed with what he did. Like, they largely agreed with the actual actions that he took. It's the craziest thing, because it wasn't like he just got in a bar fight and beat somebody in the bar. No, he broke into their house, beat them with a hammer, and robbed them, and said to them, I believe I'm an avenging angel.
Yeah, dude, I do think though that like,
and we're just like, yeah, we want that guy out of jail because we feel that way. We feel a certain way, when we see those types of crimes.
We do, but I personally can only speak for myself here. I think that a man who has the capability to go do it takes a lot to beat another human up with a hammer. It takes a lot of passion for a cause. You know, he wants to change society in a positive way. I hope a guy like that doesn't go out and just continue to beat the shit out of people, though.
Exactly.
Because at some point he's going to take himself out of commission.
Right. Well,
he's going to break into someone's house who maybe it has a gun or something, or it is Alaska for crying out loud.
Dude, he could have done that.
So
I mean, any of the three guys that he did it in the first place could have,
I'm just saying, I don't see it ending in a positive way if he just continues on that trajectory. I hope that he uses his energy towards really bettering his community.
Well, there's no more anonymity now, buddy. Ain't no Batman mask on. Everybody knows who he is. So I doubt that that's an option at this point.
So you think that he's going to go beat more people up?
No, I said I doubt it's an option for him to go do. I'm saying,
but I wonder if it's
realistically.
Expected. Do people expect it? Like, are people going to hit him up?
No, people are not expecting that.
My neighbor is his creep. You know what I mean?
No, I doubt it. I don't think so.
That lead list is hot, bro. It's getting added to daily.
I know. All right, so check this out. Yeah. So the next guy I want to talk about.
I just wanted to close out what you were saying though, because the Alaskan Avenger is going to throw me off throughout the entire thing. It is interesting how important jury selection is. Like the FBI, the CIA, all of these organizations, one of the things they look for more than anything is what would it be, like sociopaths or psychopaths? They want you to have some sort of narcissistic behavior to you, because what you're going to have to do is going to require a lack of empathy, moving forward in your journey.
So you're saying
with the
recruiting
CIA
these people
or the FBI, yes, like that's their ultimate thing. Because if you really have like a very large, endearing moral compass upon yourself, and you have a hard time, like you can only see, I don't know, like help them, don't hurt them type situation. It's going to be hard for you to take out the journey or mission they're going to have you do, because you're not always going to know all the details. It might just be, hey, this is a guy we got to take down. And it's like, well, I don't know, he might have kids. Like, it's about you.
Not only that, but you're, like you said, you're carrying out orders blindly a lot of the times,
and you're a superhero to a degree, and you could be the main character in your own movie if you're the CIA, bro. How cool must that feel if you're a sociopath who wants to be important, But I wonder when they're doing jury selection, like, I think it takes some empathy to want that guy to go free. If you're just looking at it black and white,
100%.
He went into someone's house, hit him with a hammer, beat him almost to death. We can't condone that because I don't want someone coming to my house doing that and thinking it's okay. But like, you have to have a level of empathy. So I wonder when they're looking for juries, it's like there's a side of them that are looking for people with these weird little ticks that are just going to go based off the logic. And I don't know. I always just thought it was interesting, the jury selection process and like how they pick people.
100%.
And I think it was like the OJ Simpson, not docuseries, but FX did like
the Cuba Gooding
series
Jr.
on them.
Yeah.
And I think they really went into the jury selection because the case was so hard to win. It didn't just take a good lawyer. It took like everything down to the jury. Because where does it all end on? The jury. So you got to have the right guy talking to the right jury. But I think it's just an interesting thing.
It is.
What are they looking for? What are they looking,
There's definitely a psychology behind that, And,
do you know who gets to pick the jury?
The lawyers, I believe. I think,
which side?
As far as I'm concerned, they have to agree.
They do?
They have to agree
but
on 12.
They're both lawyers. They're both getting paid no matter what sometimes.
So, yeah, I mean, they're all getting paid, but...
Yeah, how could we milk this case the most? But yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well, yeah, dude.
But yeah, so that is a very interesting thing. How do you choose the people who are going to, or how do you agree? How do two lawyers on both sides agree on the people who are going to put their client's fate in their hands?
Well, like if the justice system had a blank slate right now, we could figure out a system. Do you feel like there's an answer to how you get the right people? Like, should there be an amount of people who have been victimized?
I do like that there's some sort of mutual exploration of the idea instead of just like the judge doing it or some sort of impartial or partial party, doing that or making those decisions. I think that what we have now, I think the idea behind what we have now, as like I said, is solid. I think that it can be. Can it be better? 100%.
Maybe execution is off sometimes, but
could it be better? 100%. But I think there's something to it. I think there's something to it.
It must be. I've never been on a jury. I don't know if I should say that.
I just got summons, dude.
Oh, dude,
I gotta go, bro.
I've never been summoned.
I'm out. I gotta go.
Wink,
Downey.
wink. But I wonder the psychological aspect of actually being on a jury when it's that heavy for you. Like to have to convict somebody, and it would be an experience for sure. I think, what is it? 12 Angry Men, the movie, the classic. It's a good one.
My mom said she was on a jury for a murder trial when she was younger, actually, and she said it was like unbelievably interesting.
I would imagine, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you like true crime. I mean, imagine being on the jury.
I know, right?
That'd be wild to go to jury duty and then like 6 months later be on the biggest case in the world. Like, people went to jury duty and then they were on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine that. It's like, I almost didn't come. And now this is like the most entertaining thing in the world for like 2 weeks.
And then they realize that they're like deciding. They're like, this girl just shit in this guy's bed. Like, am I in real life here?
So we're deciding on whether it was dog poop or not. So what
is happening?
What a nice metaphorical like symbol of that whole thing. Is this dog poop or not? That was what we all thought about it all.
Exactly.
So
all right.
Next, dude. Who else is?
All right, so check this
there?
out. So this is Pedro Rodrigues Filho. I'm not sure exactly. So
not the guy from Home Makeover.
No. Okay, so this guy,
this
guy is a really interesting story. Okay, very interesting, kind of long too. Like, his story spans from the time he was 14 to the time he was 68 years old.
Wow.
Okay, so when he was 14, he started his killing spree at 14, and he killed confirmed 71 people confirmed from the age 14 to 19.
What country did this happen?
Brazil.
Okay, I see Policia and
Okay,
we would heard of this guy.
So he's in Brazil, and this is the guy who Dexter was based off of.
Oh.
Okay, so this guy.
I see it.
So apparently this guy. So this guy apparently someone killed his pregnant girlfriend when he was a teenager, and in response, this guy went on a killing spree and killed over 70 members of a particular gang. Of like one gang who was responsible for the murder of his pregnant girlfriend. So This dude went off, and the crazy thing is that it was only confirmed to have killed 71. He claims to have killed over 100. and just hunted down all these murderers. Now, he got some time in prison, but he ended up getting out and starting his own YouTube channel.
Good for him, dude.
I know, yeah.
That's really, if you think about what YouTube is for, it's not for bloated, mass-produced, game shows, dude. It's for people like this guy.
Right, yeah.
For people like us to talk about this guy.
Yeah, exactly. For Pedro, for Rodrigues, Filho, dude. I'm telling you, like, that's crazy, right? So got out and he made...
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is that he still didn't, like... That wasn't the end of it. Like, he was murdered at 68 years old, like shot and killed at 68. Like, still, people were still looking for revenge from this dude at 68 years old. So, you know what I mean? Like 54 years later, you know what I'm saying?
Wild, dude.
That is wild, bro.
Like, what was it, like the grandson of like the...
No, and nobody knows. Nobody found his killer. Nobody found his killer. Somebody just drove up.
Are we assuming that it's related? Could it have just been a random act of violence?
Because he was in Brazil. I don't know, dude. I mean, yeah. I mean, anything's possible.
I'm not familiar with the landscape.
Listen, anything's possible. But, I mean, with his background, you would assume that there is some sort of connection between... what may have happened in the past and, his death. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't personally know. I didn't find any of those particular details while I was doing my research. But this guy, man, like...
He had a long run, though.
Yeah, long.
68.
Dog.
And what a good picture for being taken. It must have been 40 years ago.
I know. I don't know.
Quality. I thought he had a YouTube channel.
He did. Like, and
so, like... Gotcha. So he was older when he didn't look like this on YouTube. He was an old guy?
I don't know. I didn't actually look and find his YouTube channel. I just did research on the crimes, you know what I'm saying? Although I probably should go and watch some episodes of what he did. I have no clue. All I know is that the details that I told you and this guy.
I'm a fan of the story you told.
Right.
As far as the actuality, I don't know. This looks like a pretty recent photo, but
no. Well, but here's the thing, it does look like a...
It's just high quality. Down in Brazil, they've always been ahead photographically.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know, dude.
I'm like, what?
But it got to be
I don't understand.
An old picture. Right. Maybe they are, dude. I'm not familiar.
But yeah, apparently apparently he was shot and killed at 68 years old, so...
That's crazy,
But
dude.
yeah, after... And apparently it was a killing spree, but it was all criminals, apparently. And that's what... that's what was said, but again, you are you gonna layer all those murders and figure out what's going on? But I think most of the people, I wonder if while he was doing this and while he was committing those crimes, if because the cops every time they came across one of his bodies, they realized that damn, this person we're picking up right now and taking to the morgue has 4 murders themselves.
It's also Brazil. Like,
yeah, but what I'm saying
I don't understand.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that
the U.S.
if
it's big business to fucking make everything a case.
But do the cops? No, do the cops in any country? That's my point. Do the cops in any country, when they see the bodies and they realize that there's a trend going on here, and every single dude we're picking up off the ground is a cold-blooded murderer or a drug dealer or this, that, and the other thing? I wonder how serious. No, I wonder how serious they take searching for the guy who's doing it.
I would say
after a while, you'd think to I might assume that these cops might be taking an approach similar to you know what, this is I got better things to do. Dude, you know what I'm saying?
I got a way to make that story even more layered.
What?
I think the vigilantes are probably cops.
Well,
who else better knows the system? And then also the cops are a fraternity of men.
There's been some, but my point is that with Pedro, Filho, or cases like this, where the cops are investigating a vigilante killer, where they know that every single person that they're picking up off the ground is a fucking criminal. And I mean, when I say criminal, I mean like a criminal.
It's also the killer. It's the community where the most unsolved crimes, where the most solved crimes, or the most active crime scenes being investigated. It's the uproar from the community because. That has to be an aspect. So if you find a guy,
you're saying if the community is crying for this guy to be caught.
Yeah, you put out there, hey dude, some guy that raped a bunch of people just got killed yesterday. Right. Who in the community is we need to find that guy?
Okay, so you make a good point. Okay, so and in communities like Brazil, there's countless videos of somebody who kidnapped somebody, being chased through the streets by the police, but only to have the civilians get to him first and kill him. There's plenty of there, dude. I've seen countless videos just like that, where the cops are chasing some guy, and the civilians get to him first, and they just mob dude and beat him to death.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know the landscape, like I don't, because justice in every country is different.
In America, they don't. Okay, it doesn't matter. We could be on social media by the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, supporting some vigilante as a populace, but it doesn't matter. Our media is going to say, they're going to put out the story that we all want this guy caught right now, and we have to do this right now. The vigilante justice in America is completely frowned upon by the establishment.
Again, I do think we need guidelines for it.
But people like you and I, we see these channels, like these Instagram channels and these TikTok channels with these people catching predators and slapping them up and public humiliation thing, and we enjoy seeing that because we're because we don't feel like there's real justice being served nowadays. If we actually thought justice was being served to these people who are doing these terrible things, we would want the police to get them first. We would want the police to get them to the cops, because we know that they're going to endure massive hardships, but we don't. We enjoy seeing these people get slapped the fuck up in the supermarkets and in public, because we know that these people are not getting the justice that they deserve. They're absolutely not getting the justice they deserve. In fact, I'll take you one further. So there's a law in California, Prop 57.
Okay.
That the people of California voted on. It was a measure in 2016 that went into effect, and it states that non-violent offenders can get out of jail early. Sounds good on its surface. It sounds like, oh, maybe someone who's in jail for drugs or whatever, we should let them out early, right? Well, that's how people felt about it. But what people didn't do is read the bill. Inside that bill, it named crimes like SA of a minor, an unconscious person, a elderly person, or a mentally handicapped person is now considered a non-violent crime. Kidnapping, human trafficking, arson, a slew of other insane crimes are now considered non-violent in the state of California and are allowed for early release just because of Prop 57. Now, why is the state of California making laws that give less harsh punishments and less accountability to people who commit some of the most heinous crimes you can possibly imagine? Why? So with that being said, we see this type of thing happening, and we automatically see these types of people like Pedro, Filho, and we root them on. Just look no further than social media. Look no further than your average YouTube video of one of these one of these people, and just read the comment section. It's filled with people from every country calling for the same thing: the release of the Alaskan Avenger. They're cheering on Marianne Bachmeier. They're cheering on Pedro Filho. Nobody, very rarely do you get the people who are against the vigilante killers, because if the justice system, if we felt the justice system worked in this country, we would want the justice system to work. We would want those criminals to caught by the cops. But more often than not, people see these types of people and they think, I am okay with the vigilante justice that I'm seeing dealt out.
Well, it's been done, So I think in retrospect, looking back on it, it's always easier to root for the guy. There's obviously layers to things, but the whole prison reform thing is kind of crazy, dude. And I think that I got a lot of little things seedling in my head right now from what you just said, but
there should be a lot.
To touch on one, the laws allow for us to be how they want us to be. So I think in California, it's a pretty evil state, dude. It's almost
terrible.
Hollywood. There's some of the most beautiful places in the country, and then some of the worst places in the country.
Look up
on so many levels.
Look
not
up
not
SB 145. Go ahead.
So on so many levels, but they want to condone and they want to motivate people to commit. Why else would they not want you to be convicted of a crime besides than to make it easier for you to commit it and the leniency? Like they made that law, and I'm guessing there's a correlation between that and why you can go loot a business for like $984, and then you could just walk out, go to the police station, damn near turn yourself in, and say, "Hey, I just robbed the jewelry store for like $800 or $900 whatever dollars."
Right.
They're like, well, it's not violent and it's under the limit, so you can go ahead and leave. But what is the macro effect of that? Now we have businesses that they can't thrive, and who benefits from small businesses going out?
Right. Well,
it's all to contribute to the larger machine.
Yes, exactly what I was going to say.
Small businesses do very well, it's less Amazon sells. And where does it ultimately come to is the lobbying.
Well, you're talking
this country
about
is ran by lobbyists that want, like, why do they want all these people to take OxyContin for fucking headaches?
Right.
Like, for what? Like, does it really help them in the grand scheme of things? Maybe it makes you feel good right now, but what is the end goal here? Like, what is the end goal by making it so easy in California to be a criminal?
Right, and what you're talking about too, exactly, and it is like there is actually some incentive to be a criminal in California, but what I think is what we're seeing is just a symptom of a larger breakdown of society. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why that all goes back to my point here of why when we see these people, when we see the videos of those people on Instagram and TikTok slapping the hell out of Preds, like when we see that type of thing happen, it doesn't instill or invoke a feeling of, oh my God, no. It instills a feeling of, yeah, get them. You know what I mean?
To a degree. I think for most people, even if they could get on board.
Because of the temperature of the legal system in this country is way off. Yeah. Nobody's being punished for justice, and the law and order is not being applied evenly across the board. And people see that, they're very aware of it. That's why my point is the overall point, and I think we should get to the next case. But the overall point is that's why most people, when they see this, are okay with it for the most part. You know what I mean? And it's not something that takes over their daily lives. They see it. It's a glancing thing. It comes in, it goes out, and in an initial instinct to the surface information that they just got is, I'm okay with this, and they move on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just the
that's the climate that we're in, and whatever contributed to that climate, we should examine, and we should probably look at the bigger. But
right,
yeah, I mean, I also think, just to the point, I can watch, like the other day, there was a video of some guy that was harassing a young lady at McDonald's, I think it was. And the girl called her dad and said, "Hey, this guy."
Oh, I saw that.
And then
dude walked in and just, bro.
I can get behind that. But
I saw that video.
How many people, though, would continue watching if you started stomping on his head?
Right.
Hitting in the head.
Exactly.
I think at that point, you feel,
okay,
if you just heard the story.
Well, what you were talking about earlier is like there's limits.
Extreme for harassment.
Exactly. What you were talking about earlier with the Titania Coppage situation is like, what's, we gotta know like a little bit layer to that. What's the situation? Is like we have to kind of know some context in order for us to be like, all right, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that's why like law-abiding citizen is like a great one, because right in the beginning, I think to the point you said earlier, you see exactly what created this emotional and action response from this gentleman who wants to seek vengeance on this criminal.
Right, exactly.
Right, because the first scene is him getting traumatized and all that stuff happening.
Exactly, and you see exactly why. You make the audience okay with it. You know what I mean?
I think it's time for vigilanteism, not just on a physical level.
Right.
But I think like one of the best ways to be a vigilante for anybody, because I ain't gonna go out there and hit someone with a hammer. I just don't got it in me. Maybe I'd like it too much, and I'd end up being one of these.
You're not that guy.
I'd be the California Avenger. I don't know, but I think that one of the biggest forms of vigilanteism that we have is people that are spreading the truth online, to create movements. Because a true vigilante, yes, one action, you get rid of one guy, and that might stop a circle of violence, but imagine being able to change people's perspective on things and how they interact with the world. That's a much larger change in general, and then it cuts down on future generations because people are just mad right now, dude.
Yeah.
People are taking out everything on each other, and so I think it's important for not just physical vigilantes, dude. I think we need, people out there trying to spread the truth and be vigilantes against the bigger system, which is whoever is making the laws. Like, people can go out there and get out of jail in 10 minutes for doing those crimes. But yeah.
Right. All right. So
Who's next, dude?
So the next one we're going to check out is, and this one always kind of like sat in a very strange way with me. I almost felt like bad for this guy, Marvin Heemeyer. And some of you guys might remember this guy for building the Killdozer. So guys, we're gonna just show a little bit of the footage from this Killdozer situation here. And
what the hell is that, dude?
So,
I've never seen this before.
You never seen this?
No.
Okay,
I
so
thought I would have for sure seen whatever you're about to show me with that build-up.
So in June of 2004, this guy named Marvin Heemeyer built. Okay, well he didn't build it in June, but he built this bulldozer, and he outfitted it with armor, and he had little places that he could stick his firearms out from the Killdozer and fire, and he went and demolished his town in Colorado, a small town in Colorado.
What town was it? Do you know?
Yeah, it was Granby, Colorado. Actually, he destroyed and demolished numerous buildings of the modified bulldozer in Granby, Colorado, in 2004. He had various grudges against the Granby town officials, neighbors of his muffler shop, the local press, various other citizens of Granby. Over about 18 months, Heemeyer secretly armored a Komatsu D355A bulldozer with layers of steel and concrete. On Friday, June 4th, 2004, Heemeyer used the bulldozer to demolish the Granby Town Hall, the house of a former mayor, and several other buildings. He killed himself after the bulldozer became stuck in a hardware store he was destroying. No one else was injured or killed.
I do disagree with him killing himself. I don't think he should have done that.
Yeah.
But how did no one see that, dude? This guy must have had like an airport hangar, or we're talking like serious countryside, because if my neighbor was building that, I would be very intrigued. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm surprised. I've never seen that. So that's town hall, but he also took down the mayor's house?
The ex-mayor's house, or was it the current mayor? It was the mayor's house and a couple of other town businesses as well. And yeah, man, I mean, this was one. You don't remember this? You don't remember this happening? I remember this being all over the news. Like, I remember this took over the entire news cycle for the day.
In 2004, I would imagine I was pretty focused on like just myself. I don't know if I watched the news or even cared about anything happening. I was like right out of high school, bro. Like, so I don't know. Did this happen at a point where I wasn't too in tune with the news, I guess?
Yeah, it was one of those things where like every single news station covered it at the time. Like, it was one of those ones where it like took over like every single it was like a car chase, you know what I mean? Like everything would be on it. Like if you turn to ABC, it's on this. If you turn to NBC, it's on that. It doesn't matter. Like, wow. This is on every channel.
And I guess this is also like pre-internet. I'm sure if this happened today, it'd be like, a billion views.
Right.
That's gnarly, dude. I mean,
yeah, man. And then like,
I wonder, do we know, like, what do they do to this guy? Like, is it just like
apparently,
corruption that he's
Okay,
seeing?
So apparently he had. I'm not sure if it was his land or if it was just some land near his house or neighboring his house, but he would drive this road. There was this land in between his house and his shop that he would go to every day, and they tried to rezone the land. Actually, they like rezoned the land and like used it to build, I don't know, something. And he couldn't use that land anymore. Apparently, he tried to have it rezoned, for himself, properly, and it just didn't happen. So I don't know the details fully about it. I just know that this is. I do know that he had a squabble with the town again for doing something with some of the land that he was currently using.
Gotcha.
And
so he's like, you fuck with my land, fuck your building.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it was his land or if it was just a road that he was using to go to and from his shop. And because they
would you say that would be extreme what he did?
Bro,
if that's the case?
Yes, dude.
Like they just took away a road for him and then he did this?
Okay.
Like what level of condonage? Like I think, hey, you fuck the facade of the building up, baby.
Exactly.
Right?
Not
You know?
even that.
You got to
dude.
Killdozer, build your own road,
bro,
around it.
Yeah, dude. If that was just...
I don't know. I don't know if this guy's making me feel the same way as the Alaskan Avenger necessarily.
No, definitely not the same thing, dude. It's
okay,
definitely not the same thing.
I wasn't sure where we were landing on this guy.
Right, exactly.
That's gnarly, dude. Wasn't there a guy who drove around in a tank? This might be it, actually. But I do remember stories about some guy like getting in a pursuit in a tank. This can't be it.
Well, no, there was another one.
A tank with
there
like
was
the gun on the front.
There was another one. There was an actual tank. I forgot to wear my shirt, dude, for this episode. Actually, I brought a specific shirt to wear for this episode.
Yeah, I could do that in post.
I'm gonna bring it in just a second here. All right, so let's jump off the Killdozer thing for a minute. And
that was fun though, dude.
Oh, check this, dude. I mean, it's crazy.
So no one died except for him.
Yeah, he tried to ram a couple of like
people.
Nah, where there were like cops like in shooting positions and stuff. He it
ain't their
but
fault.
they all jumped out of the way, you know. Yeah. All right, so we have two more cases to go over, and this one has been talked about on Mr. Ballin. This one's been talked about on all kinds of different platforms. Now, this guy's name is Ken McElroy. Okay, so this guy apparently just was an absolute bully in his town. Now, and so there was one particular incident where he raped a 12-year-old girl and then married her when she was 14 to avoid the statutory rape charges. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but the story goes is that he broke in.
A weird law.
Well,
if you marry them, now it's
exactly.
It's a very weird law.
So this is in the 70s, I believe. Well, he broke into the family's house of the daughter and killed their dog. And I'm not sure he did some other things to their family, and then made them sign like something saying that she could marry him. So, but this guy brutalized everybody in town for years. Just was a complete bully. So the town decided one day they were going to get together and do something about it. So they got together. They had a town meeting, and they decided that they were going to take care of Ken McElroy. So they all went down to where he was at. I believe he was at either the bar or the grocery store. I can't remember what. He came out of the store. They took that girl he was with, who apparently the one that he was married to, and they ushered her away from him. And he got in his truck and he started mouthing off to everybody in town, trying to bully him like he always does. And apparently they all pulled out their firearms and opened fire on this guy. And they shot and killed him, and he died in his truck sitting right there in that parking lot. And that murder was never solved. No one ever snitched on anybody in town, and everybody said that nobody saw nothing. Nobody saw nothing that day. This guy
sounds like a movie I've seen. I feel like this is like the premise of this story has been
wild, right?
It's kind of like Training Day, Denzel Washington. Kind of like the King Kong moment. Do you remember the movie when he says,
"Yeah, but this guy
seemed like he was bullying everyone, and
yes.
He just it caught up to him
in a big way with this guy.
Way. He looks. You never want to judge, but he kind of looks like a punk.
Yeah, he looks like the kind of guy.
like a.
You never want to judge. Like I want to, dude. This guy is a fucking.
You should have discernment.
Of all the research that I did of all the cases, this guy was the absolute worst.
I guess I was just going off of appearance. I'm trying to go off of a discernment on what I know about him and everything. Like, obviously, he's a horrible fucking guy. But if you just saw this guy, what would your initial gut reaction be? Like, is this guy...
Oh, terrible person. Instantly.
Yeah.
Even just looking at his picture, it makes me feel uncomfortable.
It's very, very emotionless, too,
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. He looks legitimately evil,
He kind of looks like he's saying, like, yeah, okay. Like,
right?
He's not even a remorseful individual. It's kind of like, yeah, I'll fucking get all you guys when I get out. Hopefully he got, beat up a little bit in jail. But, oh, no, he got killed.
Oh, yeah, he
was
killed, dude. He was absolutely fucking murdered. All right, so check this out. So He was accused of everything from theft and arson to child molestation and statutory rape. But despite being indicted 21 times, he dodged convictions at every turn with threats, with all kinds of different tactics. After McElroy raped a 12-year-old girl, he divorced his wife and married the child when she was just 14 to avoid a statutory rape charge. When her parents objected, he shot their dog and burned down their house. And after he shot a farmer in 1976, he somehow produced 2 witnesses who claimed that McElroy was nowhere near the scene of the crime that day. Ken McElroy was a true terror for Skidmore residents, and they wanted him removed immediately.
And what state is this in again?
Skidmore, Missouri.
So in Missouri, you could marry a 14-year-old.
Apparently.
That's weird, dude.
Well, Missouri.
That's something to examine.
Hey, Missouri, get your shit together.
Yeah,
how's that?
You know?
You guys starting to look like California over there.
I wonder, and that was the because it sounds like he had a reign of terror. Like this guy.
Oh, yeah, for
years.
years.
This was the Debo of the block for sure.
Correct, bro.
So
for years,
what was the straw that broke the back? And like, I wonder.
So he was a true terror for the Skidmore residents, and they wanted him removed immediately. So Ken McElroy's downfall was a long time coming, but it truly fell into motion in 1980 after he shot the town's elderly grocer in the neck. Though McElroy was charged with attempted murder and eventually convicted, he appealed the case and was later released on bond. Soon afterward, it seemed as though the entire town was present at a gathering on July 10th, 1981, to discuss Ken McElroy. Though it's unclear exactly what they said, there's no question that they decided McElroy had to go. Residents heard that McElroy had gone to the D&G Tavern for a drink. In a prime example of real-life vigilantes in action, the community walked to the bar to confront him, and they killed him.
Okay, so it wasn't just like a rally out of like he was given justice by the system, which in return didn't continue through on that justice. He
like we were talking about.
So this is when the people take the action in their own hands, and it's
and they killed the piece of shit.
The fact that he didn't get killed sooner, and the fact that he even got released. I don't know the whole story, but we have to really examine how does that happen.
Bro,
well, like what kind of circle do you have to be in? Like who name 5 guys this guy must know, to be able, or who he's related to, and like I think that's
bro, I think this guy lived his life based on his life was based on like.
But how would that translate to getting out of jail for all the shit he did? Do you know what I'm saying? Like
he only got convicted the one time, and all he did was post bond.
Oh,
he only got out of jail by posting bond.
Gotcha. Okay. But all the other stuff, I thought he got convicted of it. I was going to say, wow, dude, what a state. He married a 14-year-old and they let him out after all that stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was just thinking he must be connected, and like the level of corruption to have that kind of connection. Like, there might be politicians that are connected in a certain way that could have people just offed and, who knows what happened and no one talks about it. But I wonder who this guy was.
All right. This next guy, he was just a piece of shit, dude. Ken McElroy was just a piece of shit.
I wonder if that's what his gravestone says.
Who lived his life threatening people and getting his way with manipulation and threats and things of that nature.
Fear.
21 times he was indicted and never convicted of anything up until that murder of the elderly grocer, until he shot that guy in the neck. Yeah. And I don't even know if he murdered him. He just shot him in the neck. Like the guy may have lived through that, which either way it sucks. Either way, this guy was a piece of shit, and everybody in town decided, fuck this dude, we're not dealing with it anymore, he's got to go. And they ended it then and there. And they decide, and you know what? Like I said, it's one of those things where it's like you hear the story and you're just kind of like, cool. I mean, like the whole story literally like makes my stomach churn until the part where they kill him, and then it's like, yeah, okay.
That's the ending that we all wanted.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what this episode has kind of like highlighted, is that there's a feeling that you get when you see this type of thing, especially based on the justice system today that we get, especially in this country and others as well. There's not, there's just, I don't feel that there's, and I think a lot of people would agree that there's a lot of satisfactory justice happening in the United States today. But, let's move on. So,
which is dangerous, actually.
I 100%
which
agree.
Is the most dangerous thing that they could try to promote and induce on a population is the need to take rights in their own hands,
Absolutely.
So,
in fact, I'm gonna leave you with this for just a second here, because I'm gonna grab my shirt. I gotta get my shirt for this.
you got to get it, dude.
Gotta get my shirt for this next one. All right.
I also wore a very special shirt. It's the Frog and the Toad. I didn't read it growing up, but evidently it's very nostalgic for a lot of people. I get a lot of compliments, and I got it at Walmart. Fun fact.
All right. I'm back.
It ain't a podcast without a mid outfit change, dude.
Bam. And my mask is falling off the wall, too.
Oh, they're going to put it on. I was like, wow.
No, I'm not going to put it on, but I am going to fix it, actually. So
I'm surprised someone doesn't do a podcast in a mask like that.
Another podcast, what?
Like, I'm surprised there's not somebody who's like a masked podcaster.
Like, okay,
There is one guy that dresses up and is real goofy with it. And I don't know who he is, but like a mask, that could be fun.
I
Like
watch
an
a
anonymous.
dude. I watch a guy on YouTube who does like TikTok reaction videos, and he wears a mask and he has like a little puppet next to him. Like, this guy goes hard. Like, he actually like puts effort into his videos. I can't remember his name right off the bat.
How does he react if he's wearing a mask? No visual cues to his
All
reaction?
vocals. He sits in a chair. He's got candles. He like wears a costume and stuff. It's legit. It's pretty good, actually. I was pretty impressed with this dude.
I like where he took wearing a mask and doing something online.
Yeah,
It's not just,
I
weird.
did a version of Misfits Halloween on my YouTube channel, acoustic, with a mask. I actually wore a mask while I sang the song.
I recently got very
That wasn't easy, by the way.
to the history of the Misfits. It's a very interesting band history.
No kidding?
Yeah, well, because it was Danzig, and then they had
Graves
like the
and-
lawsuit, and it was like 15 years later that they had
Michael Graves.
and then there was Mike Hideous.
Mike Hideous.
That was a guy that was on like one little tour with them.
I didn't.
You know what
I
mean?
never even heard of that. I never even heard of Mike Hideous, dude.
Yeah, Mike Hideous, very like obscure reference there, dude.
All right, so
But,
so my shirt is of our last subject. All right, so my last shirt is Gary Plauché. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name, but I'm assuming. So it's Gary Plauché. All right, here we go. Let's go back to the media page here. All right, so here's Gary. This is Gary Plauché, and I'm guessing that most of you have seen the actual footage of why Gary Plauché was imprisoned, why he was convicted. So Gary Plauché's son, Jody, was in a karate class, and his karate instructor kidnapped his son, and took him across the country from Baton Rouge to the West Coast, and held him in a hotel room and sexually assaulted this young man for multiple times. And then instead of killing him, he let the kid call his parents. So he called his parents in Baton Rouge. The cops traced the call. Cops went out there, arrested this guy, and flew him back to Baton Rouge. Well, when he arrived at the airport, Gary decided to take matters into his own hands. He was not about to let the failing justice system in this country, even back then, fail him then. So, as the guy was, I believe his name was something Doucette, Jeff Doucette, I believe his name was coming back through the airport with the cop. The cop was walking him back through the airport, and Gary Plauché was on the phone, on a payphone with a friend of his, and he was walking him through exactly what he was going to do. He had hid a pistol in his boot, and he told his friend, he's coming, I can see him coming now. Listen, you're going to hear a shot. Like, he was literally talking his friend through what he was about to do, and this is the footage that we've all seen and we all know as
Immortalized into a t-shirt.
As real justice, immortalized on my shirt right here. Now, you're not going to see anything graphic here. Anything graphics cut out. That's Jeff Doucette being walked through the airport. Boom! Right there. Turns around. Ends it.
I bet you. I'm thinking in Louisiana, this might have been like the justice system might have told this guy, hey, man, we're going to be walking this fucker through at like 12:05. You want to come in? You want to put a gun in your fucking shoe? We'll have someone on the phone telling you the second he's behind you.
That's what I'm saying.
And you pop this, and we'll even have some guy walking next to him in a way where he'll cover the exact shot.
Boom.
So we'll put this shit all over the fucking news for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
There are towns like that. Have you seen there's a clip of a guy like that runs the deputy of a town that says, like, fuck with us and we'll kill you, basically. You know, like, come onto our properties. So there are places in this country that are about that justice. So I would like to think maybe the town helped, you know, but regardless, dude, that guy looks so nice, bro. He looks like he runs a watch store. You know, maybe he's a dentist,
dude,
and he's just good for him, man.
You know the crazy. That's
for
what
him. And
everybody says that. Everybody says good for him. We all cheer on Gary Plauché. We all do.
Yes, I think that in the surface of us, yes, but I think. There again, I just think it's also important to reflect on. This represents such a larger issue everywhere, but I think in the moment, yes, man. I think this guy, he was about to get the death sentence. The guy fucking did the job for him, and that's about where it is. But yeah, good for him though. I just think I also want to invoke, you know, other kinds of changes we could help each other with, but yes.
Yeah, I know. I agree. And I think that you're onto something when you say that we can, you know, that having a voice and using, you know, the social media platforms and using the internet to speak up against, you know, the injustices that we see today and being helping, you know, bring justice to society, you know, by being honest and, you know, in a time that might not have as much. But you're right. We see these things and we can't help but cheer because we know what happened. We know what that stemmed from. And any father of any kid that had the opportunity to do what this guy did would probably take that opportunity. And when and one of the really sad parts about this case is that after Gary Plauché did kill Jeff Doucette, what happened was the son, Jody, he didn't want him to kill Jeff Doucette. He didn't want him to go to prison. He didn't want to lose his dad too. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, and he ended up later on, I believe, he wrote a book called Why Gary Why? And it talks about him, you know, that time that he had to spend without his father after that had happened and stuff. And
I mean, just like going back to it has to, bro. We have to bring up the Alaskan Avenger,
right?
It'd be weird if we didn't right now. But just like he was displaying the complete opposite end of the spectrum of how trauma is usually dealt with. Like, to give another example, have you ever watched the show America's Most Wanted? With I can't think of the gentleman's name, but he would be very obvious to you.
So okay,
do you know that story?
Okay, so listen, his name was John Walsh. His son's name was Adam Walsh, and his son was killed by, I believe, Otis Toole. And Otis Toole was the one who confessed to his murder. But then he later recanted that and recanted his confession. Now, Otis Toole and Henry Lee Lucas were a pair of serial killers that terrorized the United States for a long time, dude. And they were said to have killed a shitload of people together, dude. But no, yeah, you're absolutely right.
I think that's another form. What that guy did with that and put forward, like America's Most Wanted, imagine how many people that's helped. Like that we should also give him
fucking
respect.
Show terrorized me as a kid,
but
dude.
We should also give good for him that's his way of being a vigilante, is saying, not only do I, you know, it happened to me and it's changed my life, but what could I do to help other people that might be going through it or avoid needing to go through this? So I'm going to put like one of the biggest shows on television out.
Raising awareness.
And put awareness, because awareness is really the ultimate, weapon against injustice. I think if you're aware of something, it becomes harder. Like, it's all swept under the rug these days. Everyone's in their own world. We just don't want other people to see what we're doing. You know, and when we are being seen, we want to be the greatest moment of our life, but underneath, we're all sweeping it. So it's like the majority of us, you know, that's kind of how they made us feel. So it's good to give voices. But
absolutely,
we had to shout out John Walsh, dude. That's a crazy story.
That's a crazy story, man. That's an absolutely devastating story to hear. I wanted to just do a couple of before we end the show today. I wanted to do a couple of
freestyles.
No, little
beats. No, I'm kidding.
I wanted to do a little. I wanted to just tell you about one other case that I read about that kind of blew my mind here. This guy's name was Vitaly Kolyev. and he was a Russian architect who murdered an air traffic controller in 2004, whom he held responsible for a mid-air collision that killed his wife and children. He confronted this dude at his home in Switzerland and fatally stabbed him. That's now that was one of the cases I came across when researching researching real life vigilante killers. What do you think? How do you think that applies to vigilanteism? And would you call that vigilanteism, or would you just call that murder? Did the guy? Even if the guy made a mistake and people died for it.
So let's play it out in two directions.
Okay.
Did the guy? Because we're all people. We're all people, man. This is a guy. He's a traffic controller. I don't know his life story. What's going on that day? Was it as simple as instead of putting up two fingers, he put up one? Was it a wire that got crossed? I mean, was it what was the scenario?
He misjudged something and maybe gave some direction to one of the pilots that caused.
I guess the motive there was obviously
it was an accident. Obviously, the dude was having a moment, and
so we know it was an accident.
Made an accident. Yes.
Okay. Because
I don't know. I mean, listen.
If there's malicious
I can't
intent,
imagine there was a malicious intent with him crashing two airplanes into each other, bro. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was an accident. Yes.
A mind capable of one murder. I don't know the limitations. I don't know.
Think about it. I mean, the guy was never convicted of anything. I don't think that I found out in my research. I just know that he was responsible because he made a mistake. He may have made a mistake, and this guy, obviously, I don't know. In my opinion, that's not vigilanteism. That's a revenge killing.
You ask a potent question, and I had insufficient info. Now I know. So the guy, just a mistake, proven to be a mistake. I feel like he was being reactionary.
Totally.
And I think that
100%.
We live in a world where things like this happen, and the level of we hold each other accountable. I mean, it could have been anybody possibly that day. So it's tragic that it happened in the first place, and it's tragic that the reaction was this man losing his life because we don't know who he left behind. But I think we have to accept that things happen. Bad things do happen to good people. Things happen out of nowhere, and we shouldn't hold each other liable for that. That's how I look at that situation.
I understand.
Like I have empathy for the man who got killed.
Now,
and also because what kind of life was he living, dude?
Right.
If I made a mistake and all those people died, I don't think I would ever live a normal life again.
Right. But
how could you?
Let me ask you this. If you made that mistake consciously, would you own up to it?
I think you would have to. I think it would be very challenging to own up to it. I think it would be one of those things where it's just immediate. It's overwhelming.
I did it. I made this mistake. I can't believe it. Let's.
It ain't like someone caught you in the room doing something funny and you could figure your way out of it. Like, it's obvious, and the weight must be so heavy immediately. Like, how could you even contain that weight? That's like holding 5 pounds of water in a 2-pound sack, dude. That's gonna burst out. So, I think right away, and how would you even react to that? What would your mindset be for the next couple? I think they'd have to put me in like a 5150 spot.
Just crazy, bro. Yeah, exactly.
If I caused a car accident on the freeway and someone was killed, it'd be the same feeling, but like imagine 2 airplanes full of people.
Exactly.
Just to put a little bit of a quantifying factor in there.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine if it. I mean, obviously it was a mistake. Like, I can't imagine what the air traffic controller in general his emotional state was just in general, after that, and what he was going through. If he was one of the people that we talk about, with, a moral compass, and so yeah, I mean, just that whole situation all around, kind of heartbreaking in general, man.
Yeah, it's similar to a story in Colorado recently. A truck driver was having issues on a downgrade with his brakes, and there's a lot of factors contributing to maybe why this happened.
I heard about this,
but he ended up. There's a lot of controversy within the story because he didn't pull off when he could have to do we all see him when we're driving across the country, like these off ramps for trucks that are going wild, but he didn't do that and he ended up crashing and killing some people, and it's like people are torn. Was he the victim of the scenario as well, someone who didn't want any of this to happen that is in the scenario now himself, or was it a neglect? What was it? But I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because it's very similar.
Yeah.
No, and people don't really know where to go with it. People don't know how to feel necessarily about that. It's easy to place blame, but
yeah. Well, it's been crazy, you know, and talking about this again, you know, like revenge has always been a really interesting subject to me, you know, especially like I say, I love revenge films. So vigilantism kind of rides a line of like, is it revenge? Is it justice? Is it, you know, I mean, and you know, and again, you know, with what we see today in society with the laws and with how lax the enforcement of a lot of the laws are, I think there's a legitimate, you know, kind of an interest in the viewership of this type of vigilantism, and I think we as people, you know, our ears prick up when we hear the word, you know, when we hear that people have been, you know, doing things along the lines of what the Alaskan Avenger did, you know, and it makes people think like, wow, maybe there is some justice today in this world, you know, even if we're not getting it from our own governments or our own, you know, our own police departments or our own judges, you know. So, you know, that being said, thank you all for joining us today. Thanks to my guest, Jarid Yaw from the Shane Dawson Podcast and from Let's Mind Travel YouTube. Go check his stuff out, guys.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Absolutely, brother. Love to have you. Can't wait to have you next week again as well, and for a couple other episodes as well coming up here. And you guys are awesome, you know. Thank you guys all for joining us today. And remember, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, not the other way around, you guys. My name is Eddie Booze, and this is Exit the Matrix. Take care, you guys.